Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, your dynamic agent of dynamite action and other prehistoric animals. Also, the host of Denorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters, the co-host of GD Splanations. And today it is Wednesday, which means it is book review day. And we have got one of my oldest books that I've had in my library. I'm going to say, a long time. It is the All About Dinosaurs, which I did review way back, called Green Dinosaurs or Dinosaurs 2 or something. I'll find out and post it or put it in the description. So here's the cover of the book, and let's get ready to roll. All right, this is the actual book we're reviewing. There's the back, not very exciting. There is the title, as well as here. It's a great cover. It's very simple, just minimalistic, but it looks good. It works. It's evocative, especially of the time frame. The book is obviously well worn, well loved. As you'll see, it's been written on in here, but it's still together. Now, this is not my original copy. This is one I inherited from my oldest friend in the world that's not related. Well, he's related by now. He's adopted brother, a friend by chance, and a brother by choice. But also has my brother's name in it as well, which we'll see. So this is the book. Like I said, it's not my original one, but I think we got them all at the same time. And now that we've said that, let's get right on into it. Okay, this book was written in 1953 by Roy Chapman Andrews. This is the opening, which you see, a nice, lovely drawing. And he wrote 3 books about dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals, including this one. This was the first. So it was ubiquitous growing up. I mean, every kid had this, every kid who liked dinosaurs, which was most every kid I knew. We had all about dinosaurs, all about strange beasts of the past, and in the days of the dinosaurs. This is the only one I've read, but he wrote a lot, and was very prolific. So he wrote about a lot of different things. Now, they do have him in Wikipedia mentions his association with Indiana Jones, and like it as not, he probably was. If he was, it was a partial. He wasn't the only one. He was a showman. He had a bunch of other paleontologists working for him that did a lot of the work. And he lived from January 26, 1884, from Belliot, Wisconsin, and passed away on March 11th, 1960. So almost in age of 76. So 50 would have been 85 years ago, which is strange to believe. Is that right? 85? No. 60 years ago, 65 years ago. There we go. Math is hard. Just ask Barbie. He won the Hubbard Medical, Charles P. Daly, and cover of Time magazine, October 29th, 1923. So very famous for going into Mongolia. There's a picture of him in here on a horse given to him. It says, and his horse, Kublai Khan, Kublai himself probably wouldn't have been thrilled about having a horse named after him, but just, he did a lot of good work. Took a lot of credit that probably wasn't his, but find me a showman who never did that. So here's where you can tell we got it gave this to my friend Turley in 1971 from some guy and some other guy. Names have been changed to protect the innocent. And so I'm assuming that we've had the book in our possession from at least 1971 ourselves. My book fell apart when I inherited this one. I kept it. Let's see. So there's our T Rex, and it's funny to think when this book was written. By the time we got this in 1970 or 71, some 17 years after it had been written, most of this information was still considered accurate. Swamp dwellers, tail draggers, featherless, hands are supinated. So written by Thomas W. Voter. I couldn't really find out too much about him, but I like his artwork. It's very evocative. There's a Rhamphorhynchus copyright notice. It doesn't say when this book was re-released, but there's a bunch of them with different covers, so I'm guessing it's several times. Never updated, but always re-released. See, swamp dwellers, Alice. I suppose that's an Allosaurus. We'll just never know. But again, about half of this information is still fairly accurate. This to a degree, yeah. First dinosaurs, age of mammals, and then how they were discovered, of course, by Mantell. And there's the iguanodon, and it mentions Mary Anning. Always happy to see Mary get her credit where it's due. That she discovered the first fossil reptile, the Ichthyosaurus, the Plesiosaurus, the Rhamphorhynchus that we just saw. Talks about how fossils are made. And look, fossil of a small dinosaur in the same death pose that birds happen to die in. Go figure. And that was the picture I was going to put in here. Fossilized wood forest that I've been to in Arizona, but I've forgotten, and I knew there was. I got one, so we do have a small interlude coming up. I love this picture, though. That's just the giants of the past. Really, it's just lovely. And it talks about duck bills and that they were useless, and the thunder lizard and king of the tyrants. Talks about the specific periods: Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. But it doesn't really go into who was in what. The Tarbosaurus batar is a Mongolian version of the Tyrannosaurus, and he's the greatest of all flesh-eating dinosaurs. And that's true. That's true. Still today, that is a true statement. Dr. David Hone says that the Tyrannosaurus is the most studied dinosaur and fossil that has been found ever. So, and that's why there are so many of them, because look at them. There's a Brachiosaurus breathing underwater. Talks about Diplodocus. The great dinosaur could wade on the bottom, feeding on soft vegetation. No, he would have sunk, clean up, and then died right there and fossilized. I'm assuming, and I see they've got the duckbill. It was called a trachodon back then, as webbed feet, and because of course they were supposed to be wading in the water and swimming to get away from theropods. Now here's the interesting thing. There's our Stegosaurus, state fossil of Colorado here, fossil bed itself, and a Paleosyncus. Now this looks to me like it's actually a Ankylosaurus, but what do I know? Triceratops in the background. I mean, they had such short tails, they really couldn't be tail draggers. And there is, and they do talk about the sea monsters, the Mosasaurus and Plesiosaurus. I doubt they battled too much simply because Plesiosaurs are shallow water predators and Mosasaurs were deep water predators. Now, I'm sure it happened because they found teeth marks, but probably like the Tyrannosaurus and the Triceratops did not happen all the time. Now, I've always harbored a slight resentment toward mosasaurs because they were always billed as the apex predator, and chronosaurs were pretty darn big too. But this would not end well for that little bitty plesiosaurus who's about to be turned into lunch. But we seem to be missing something. We're in the Cretaceous period here. What could we be missing? I can't.
But I can. Pachycephalosaurus charge! He moved.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Pachycephalosaurus, we got the bony crown. has the hardest head around.
Yes, I did that for Lilith, and I'm going to go back one thing because Roy P. Chapman was on the expedition that discovered the first fossilized eggs of Protoceratops and Oviraptor, apparently, but that's a whole different story. But, they aren't Pachycephalosaurus. I don't think we found any Pachy eggs. But let's just listen to a tiny bit more of Howdy Tunes.
Pachycephalosaurus, veggies are what we're fed. Pachycephalosaurus, we really like to bang our heads.
So that clip from Ghosts made me ever so happy. And if you don't believe that, well, now. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, so let's get back on track here. And then we go into the flying dragons and sea serpents, which we just saw one of, but there's my beloved Pteranodon, toothless wing. The Ichthyosaurus was, of course, a Triassic and Jurassic marine reptile. And that's a small one, 10 to 15 feet. They are much bigger ones. That's one of the things that Mary Anning discovered. And then we go into the sad part of the book, the death of the dinosaurs. The meteorite hadn't even been thought of yet, so which is just amazing. So, and this poor Stegosaurus, he had a brain bigger than a kitten's. Poor George. And now we're at the end of the book. All right. So that was pretty quick, wasn't it? So that Packy stuff there was for Lilith because it is her favorite dinosaur. And of course, I've forgotten to drop them in here and there, including, and Higgintooth, of course. Him doing the Pachycephalosaurus charge on ghosts might be the greatest thing I've ever seen on television. And if you know, I know that you know that I know that you know. All right, so that is our wrap up of the book review. That might or might not be a little too busy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seven new pictures there. So I like it, although it's, I left a little of that. So I might fix that later on. But if you have not liked, shared, and subscribed, left a comment, hit the notification bell, well, if you can do it now, that'd be great. If you've watched this long, you are super fans. So that'll be our episode for today. I really will stop saying so at some point in time. And until our next assignment, this is X7 signing off.
When dinosaurs ruled the earth. This is the time, the very beginning, before man was master, when the moon wrenched a place for itself in the heavens. This is the time when men lived in fear, and the color of a woman's hair decided who should be sacrificed. Starring Victoria Vetri, who could tame any man. Who could even train man's deadliest enemy.
Necro!
This is the time of unimaginable dangers. Danger from above, danger from below, danger from every living thing in this primitive world.